Hi, it's Deathly Sallows. We're back and going to do a tutorial again today on exporting and customizing a head model to have a custom face and then putting it back in the game. So I've already got a project started here, custom head, just the folder, and we're going to start out by pulling a head and adding it to our folder. So we're going to go to content and then we can search for it here, or we can follow our folder path to get to it. It would go through rigged objects and then through the characters folder. Or if we want to save some time, you can set yourself up a filter here by just these little things you click on the side. If you click them, it'll only show you objects that are of that type. Since the head's a skeletal mesh, we can just search up head and then click skeletal mesh, and it'll only give us what we're looking for. So it pulls everything, absolutely everything, when you do it this way. So you can go through, find a head you like to start out with. But I personally know what one I'm going to use, so I'm just going to type in Emily. This is one of the custom one of the avatar preset heads. So when you find the one you like, right-click and hit Show in Folder View. It'll take you to the folder itself instead of just a big search result. Then you'll turn off Skeletal Mesh, and it gives you the data asset as well. So we select both of these and scroll to our project folder on this side, which is Custom Head. It's right here. Click and drag, and then drop. And remember, don't hit Move here. Always click Copy, or else it will mess up everything in this side. So we're over here. We've got our custom content set, and we'll just change the name to start with. Just going to call it Custom Head. There we go. Sorry. And Custom Head. All right. So now that that part's taken care of, we're going to export this. A few things before we do. We used to use the UModel method to export so that we could have our shape keys and import them through the use of some plugins. We don't have to do that anymore, but you can't be using the same Blender model if you were using the 3.5 or 3. Whatever it was. Right here, for those of you who don't know, is what I'm talking about. Each head model comes with shape keys. They're called morph targets in here, blend shapes, whatever. These are really, really important for your head model. Otherwise, during the game, she's just going to be stuck with this look on her face. She won't open her mouth, won't move her eyes, like nothing else happens. So the shape keys kind of go in and they, as you can see, are responsible for the movement on the face. So we want to make sure that those are preserved when we export it. So I'm just going to close that then, and we'll get started. So right-click your custom head. It'll be the skeletal mesh. Shows you in brackets. Always skeletal mesh. Pink one. Right-click and go to Asset Actions, and then Export. Save it wherever you want it. And your export options will, by default, work just fine. I like to remove the level of detail so I don't have all those LODs in the way, and we can fix that later. But for now, we're just going to export it like this. And it's going. So let's pull up Blender and get started on it. Okay, as I said before, we were previously using Blender 3.5 or whatever Blender 3, what version you were using. I had 3.5. If you open it in here now, the shape keys, blend shapes, they don't show up at all. So don't use this one, but if you update to the most recent version of Blender, they show up just fine. and you get the better version, so I guess that's a win. So just open Blender and we'll start you on the basic square scene. Just highlight everything, drag and highlight, hit delete. Now go up to the side here, hit the collection, delete, just clear everything out. And then we're going to add our head. So go over to File, Import FBX. Go to your folder. Okay, we've navigated to my folder. And there it is right there, the FBX model. Just click it and then import. Give it a second, and there it is. Okay, from here on out, you'll just need, what I'm going to do is just kind of go over how I like to edit things in Blender. You can edit them however you like, but a lot of people who don't know how to use it, I mean, I've got some little tips. They might be a little out of order, you know, because I'm just kind of going to go off the fly, but this isn't a serious edit or anything. So it's what it is. So what I did there was I selected the skeleton and then I hit H on my keyboard and that hit it for me. You can also go through here and just click the hide armature button, because when I go into another item, it'll sometimes pop it back up, but start out going into edit mode. Personally, though, I don't like how when you export things from the mod kit, everything is metallic-y looking. So I like to start out by changing that. And you can do so by going over here into the material. This is currently selected to the eye. We want to find the head. Going to do it for each individual material on your item. But then you scroll down to Viewport Display and turn the metallic all the way down. This is a nice thing to do if you are like me and you really don't like that metallic look. It gets in the way of you seeing what's going on. And then just set the color to whatever you want it to display as, and you can do this per material to help you differentiate things you're working on in your project. But before I do anything else, before we get into actually changing the shape, I like to also apply the texture from in-game. Exporting them currently from the kit isn't really very streamlined. I can never really get anything to show up, so I still use Fmodel personally to get my textures. I can share this one if anyone needs it. They can just send me a message and I'll share what I'm using here, but we'll want to add the in-game texture. I've combined a few to get like the full version. So go over to texture paint, and then up here we have new, and then texture slots here on the right hand side up top where the material graphic shows, where it says texture slot. I like to do it from here. Just select the head. It says there are no textures, so click the plus. And this is where you can color things in here if you want to. Blender's not really the greatest for that, but it's a good place to look at stuff. Base color is just, you know, the basics. So add yourself a texture for that, and it'll pop up over here. You can scroll through everything that you've got with this, and then as you can see, we've got a big gray bit there. You can see what the mesh looks like on it. Through like UV editing and stuff, and then there's another way to make it show up on here, but I'm not really worried about that. So texture up, go over here into image, and then click replace, and it'll let you go through your files to find your texture. Okay, so I've clicked that. I'm in my folder now, and I've got one right here. It's just a PNG and it is using the face texture from the game. And I click replace image and there we go. The reason I like to do this is if you're making a custom head, you can see that there's a hairline here and the ears. So no matter what shape you make her head or your character's head, it's still going to line up the same way with the hair models. So you can get some ugly clipping and unexpected results that way if you're not careful. So I like to see where everything is at before I go into sculpt mode by loading the texture up. It also lets you see where your eyebrows are at and basically like the outlines of everything. So this is so nice to have. And let's go back to our sculpting, modeling tab, whatever you want to use. I've clicked the sculpting one and it's gone back to purple as you can see. So go back up to this top part here where it says viewport shading, these 3 circles. I like to keep that one selected. You can view materials if you click this last one or this one. They're a little metallic looking. I prefer personally to stay in this. I also, if you're just going off of the purple or you're editing a shirt or something, I keep it on studio and this is the default. I don't like how the shine, the shadows on the side of the face, doesn't let me feel like I'm looking at everything as if it's even. So I like to click it and change. You can change the way the light hits things right here. It'll help you see your model in a bunch of different lights. So when I'm working on like clothes, for example, I usually use this one. But we've got different ways of displaying it. Is it really going to show? Sorry, not time to play right now with it. But yeah, we've got different ways of displaying. If you click random, the different objects that are being shown in the viewport will just kind of take on their own color. But like I was showing you earlier, you can just set those yourselves. And it's got these settings here. But if you click texture, there you go. It's got the texture right on it. Not really fond of the lighting this time though. Still, that works just fine to me. And moving on, we're in sculpt mode right now. Let's go over here to the top and hit edit mode. So what we're going to do is I want to hide these eyeballs so that I'm not actually editing them by accident. They're connected to the skeleton, and sometimes if you move them around, they'll be a bit wonky in game and you'll have some unexpected results. So you want to keep them pretty much where they're at as close as you can. So I want to hide those. There is this layer here on the outside that will need changed, and then these eyelashes will eventually need changed. But if while you're in sculpt mode, you're moving the eyelashes around, sometimes they'll get some really ugly shapes too. So I also like to hide those while I'm actually working on the face. So everything has to be hidden like I'm saying now. So what we're going to do is we're going to select just like this. And the reason is because these nostrils and ears need to stay in the editable region. But if we don't select them, and then we do what we're doing here, which is Control L to select everything, they don't get selected with it. And you'll just have some ears and nostril bits that don't really connect to your model. So yeah, select them all up like this. All you need is one little vertice selected wherever, and then hit Control L to select everything. This is going to be so that we can isolate our model that we want to edit from the rest of it, so we don't accidentally move the eyes, the mouth, all that stuff. So, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is underneath. There are the teeth, the eyes, everything inside the head model. So I'm gonna right click here. Wait, first I'm gonna Control I. Control I is to invert the selection. So it selects the mouth inside, the eyes, the eyelashes, all that stuff. And I also want to see it while I'm editing so that I can tell where the eyes are during. So if you go up here to Mesh and then hit Duplicate, or just Shift D, it'll duplicate them. Don't move your mouse or anything, and then right click. We do have a duplicate of it. We can't see it right now, but it is there duplicated right on top of the eye that's on this model. So then right click, because only one is selected, and then click Separate Selection. So now we actually have a separate eyelash, eye, mouth, everything here. And I don't want everything to be included in this, so I'm going to get rid of just the eyelashes. Which you can do that by swapping to edit this. And I'm going to click this dot on the side. It'll let me swap between which models I'm editing. So right now it's on the face. If I click it there, it moved me to this custom port. I want the eyelashes gone. So right click, separate by material. It's now made a bunch more copies. But if we go back to object mode, we can delete the ones we don't want. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't need this. But I would like to keep the teeth so I can kind of see it in the background and the eyes. So, click your eye, and then shift click the teeth, and then click Control J. That combines these into one mesh just to save you some space. And then we can go over here. They're in the background. Select your face, go back into edit mode, and we're going to do that again. Just select a little strip over the nose and the ears. Control L, select it all, and then Control I to select just the eyes, eyelashes, mouth. And then hit H on your keyboard for hide. So now we're where we want to be to start editing, or at least where I like to be when I start editing. You can start editing beforehand, but it's going to warp your eyes. You have to make sure you hide those. But if you hide them, you can't see what you're editing around the eye shape, so I like to do that. So we're going into sculpt mode up here. Sculpt. And we can see our weird looking eyeballs. This nose is slightly uneven, surprising. But whatever. Let's see. I want to change it. You can just drag around. There's a lot of tools, and they'll kind of just sculpt it for you. Play around with all these and, figure out what you like to use. But before you do, if you want to be careful with the hair, like I mentioned, you'll want to put on a mask. So that's what I'm going to do next. Hover over these side tools, and there is a mask button. And we're looking at our model right now. What you want to mask is going to be the sides of the head so they don't go out too far and clip through your hair. And then the actual hairline area. So take your mask button, go here, and look at these options. Sometimes it sets to front faces only, and you don't want that selected, so make sure that's not selected. Then go over to the fall off section and click projected. If you don't do that, then it's going to only do the surface area, but you'll have to be careful because if you're going from behind and you paint, you're also masking the front. So just go to the side, click this red X side here, and it perfectly centers you. And it makes this really easy. You just take it and sweep it around the ear, and then sweep it around this hairline, and then color in the rest. That is the quickest way to mask your head off. So now nothing has to change. I also am going to do a bit of a neck mask here, just to keep everything safe that I don't want moved. Okay, so with our mask done, go back to this paintbrush here. It looks like it pulls up draw automatically, but if you click the drop down arrow, or you can search down here. I like the drop down because it has the descriptions right there so I can read them, and I visually don't like just nothing with words. So anyways, yeah, up here, go through everything, try out the tools to figure out which ones you like personally. Hovering over them does tell you a little description of what the tool will do. I'd recommend learning about Relax Slide to fix your textures if you warp it a little too much. And I personally like the Elastic Deform. Elastic Grab now, actually, but before I ever start on something like this, I want it to be symmetrical. So going over to this right here, along the side we've got all these options, and this one right here with the tools on it. Click that, and then look through it till you find symmetry. Click that, and click Mirror X. And now that Mirror X is selected, everything we do is going to be symmetrical. You don't have to use that, but I know a lot of people who have shown me their models are like, I can't keep mine symmetrical. Personally, I think I should fix your nose a bit to the center. So over here, I'm going to use my favorite elastic grab and then scroll out a bit to give it more of a grabbing area. And I'm going to scoot it over just slightly. That was too much. Pardon my Discord noises. I should have closed those. It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. And then we go back, click it into symmetry, and then start doing whatever we want. This, again, is all my personal preferences. You don't have to follow any of this if you don't want to, but I would recommend the masking, and I would recommend the eyeballs behind so that you can see what you're doing, because sometimes if you edit the shape a little more than you realize, as you can see here, it didn't take too much movement to make it so that you can see past the eye. And you can kind of guess if you want, but who wants to do that? Let's be efficient. Okay. So, since it's just kind of a tutorial, I'm going to do some vague changes. You'll have to do trial and error to learn this stuff. It's kind of like an artist's bit. It's a lot like using the liquify tools in photo editing programs with some of the tools, and then with others it's just, more sculpty. And of course you can go in here into edit mode again and then use all these tools on the side. For example, we've got this one, which is just the move tool. Select something and then go side to side. It's pretty simple, it moves it. There's also a rotation. So you can rotate and then move. Doesn't look very useful in the way I'm doing it now, but it is very necessary for certain things. Look at that. You can see where my mask is at too, and it's left a little gap. So in the end, I'm going to have to take my mask off and then smooth that out personally. Like, it's fine if right here kind of goes inward a little, but the main reason we don't want to edit it too much is because, see that? If it moves slightly while you're in sculpt mode, you'll have a seam into the inside of your head that pops open, and you don't want that. So that's just why I masked it. So go back into sculpt mode, keep working. There's a tool for smoothing I like to use too, but golly, it's like I'm so used to still using the 3.5 that finding my tool sometimes is a bit annoying. Smooth. Okay. If you click smooth, it'll smooth that out for you, um, as its name suggests. Also easier sometimes to show your wireframe. There's a way to view that without clicking into this. I believe you can do it in one of these settings. Yeah. Yeah, right here, if you click wireframe, you can pull the wireframe up top. This is really useful if you've messed up the texture. For example, I can show you guys. If I expand something really far, like this eyebrow here, let me use the blob. If I spread it out and then I edit it down and then I edit it like over and over again, it'll kind of push this texture around a lot. It'll make it look really weird. You've probably seen some things like that I've put up that you can't put like a plaid pattern on because it no longer wants to look straight, for example, because I've messed this little mesh up here. Well, the way to fix that is actually really easy, and I am working on going back through and fixing all that stuff so that it looks nice and neat again. But, by the way, this is the draw tool and it's the basic one. Changing the strength is really important because if you go off on what it's set to a default by 5, it just looks kind of bulbous and ridiculous. So the key to actually making these look really good is to just go really, really small amount of detail at a time. But not important right now because we're trying to mess up this texture. So yeah, let's like smooth it down a bit. So our eyebrows do look a bit wonky. Let's click the smooth button. Way too strong, by the way. The smooth button will push in. That's why I said go slow the entire time. So they don't look too weird, but they do look a little weird. So turn off wireframe and you can see it. They're a little bit, especially right here and the crease above the eye. Everything's a little bit stretched funny. It's not going to look good in game. It's going to look really bad in game, actually. So let's smooth it a little better first because it's still a little chunky. And then we can fix that by going into the relax slide tool and kind of manually putting everything together. You want the wireframe on for the relax slide tool. You don't necessarily want a mirror on for the relax slide tool because it's definitely in its own way. So right here, this is a little bit out of proportion. What the tool does is it just moves the wireframe around. You're going to want to tone the strength down as well. Otherwise it can get a little gooby, but it moves your wireframe around while preserving the shape of your model. So any of the shape that I've changed is staying the same, but the wireframe itself, which dictates how the texture is going to be laid on top of the model, I can edit that. I can put everything back where it needs to be, and it can look really nice after an edit. Really important to check on that if you're making a lot of changes and you don't want to, like, especially for like an outfit, if you're ever wanting to put like something with stripes on it, for example, they're just not going to show up on certain models properly unless you go back in and you do this. And it can be time consuming, but you know, eventually you'll get there. You can also use this to customize the brow how you like them. But this is just using brow shape 1, so when you change it, it's still going to change. And this is just, like I said, my personal model of the face texture that I made. It's just a basic. You can also use it though to pull your lips in, but it does affect the shape, the blend shapes, because they go by these vertices. So yeah, careful with that. It's really useful. I hope that what I just said was understandable to most of you. And as I always say, you can message me on Discord anytime, and I do respond. And I'll try and get back with you and help as quick as I can if you've got any actual problems, questions, or you've run into something. I'm more than happy to help. I just want to make sure everybody gets everything so that we can have all the content that we can put out and that you guys can make whatever it is that you really want to see happen. So yeah, elastic deform is my favorite. I've got symmetry on again, and I'm gonna just change some basic things. Maybe we want to give her like more of a curved nose bridge. Push down and then push in. Lower these. You want to be careful though, like going in and out here. Once you put it in game, sometimes they'll look a little flat. It's very much something you need to be patient with, and you really need to pay attention to the detail. You don't want something that's going to look unnatural in the game. I mean, if you personally enjoy it, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but you know, it's just we want things to look really nice. So just practice. We'll get there. This feels like it looks like Zenobia. I'd like to hide the wireframe. Okay, she's a little lumpy. And again, she's just a tutorial face. It's just not that important. But as you go, we've got the shape keys that I told you about earlier. They're right here. Blend shapes, shape keys is what they're called in Blender. And yeah, they show up right here. You can still test them as you go. You want to always make sure you're editing on the base layer. But this lets you test the face animations live while you're making your changes. For example, if you move the eye too much, the blink won't make everything line up. And if you click these open and then just select it, you can edit the blend shape itself to make sure your animation looks perfect. It's a lot of work to just kind of go through, but you know, it's worth it. So the more you edit, like I said before though, um, the more likely you are to have things kind of stone face on you, or like I said about the teeth, how we want it back there, or they'll clip on you, like right here. I don't think you want that when you smile. Not supposed to happen. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, let's turn it off then. And then scroll up and then click our basis layer. And we're gonna pull that out. We're gonna pull that out a little too so it doesn't look funny. And let's smooth the forehead while we're at it. It's a little lumpy. I apologize. If this is taking forever, you're more than welcome to skip through my face editing process. You know what? Just so that I stop finicking with it, let's just make it silly so it's very obvious to tell that it's been imported into the game. There she is. And also, pulling the cheek has pulled the eyes out of the way. So it's very good that we've got that still. Let's put those back. Just kind of nudge it. And now let's check that smile again. Since we've pulled it forward, it shouldn't show the teeth. There we go. That's how it should look, as even with the cheeks. But it also, like I said, on the shape keys, you can pull it out so that it doesn't clip the teeth. You don't have to. It's just, look at how many there are. That's a lot of work to make sure you do it for everyone so that nothing looks unnatural when thrown together. It's just an awful lot of work. But if you're down for it, you go for it. Man, she looks dumb. Let's make her look like a koala bear or something. Sorry, smooth. Oh, Voldemort knows. Something didn't like the change. Oh no, not the nostril. It wanted to stay in place. That can be fixed in edit mode. Select it, push it back. Make sure you don't have the surface selected as well or you'll stretch. You can just hit Control Z to undo that. And see, I have selected that vertex. So, undo it, push, and it's back. And we've still got one left, so click it and select and push it back. Is this part necessary? No. No, I'm just messing around with a silly model. She looks like she's been stung by plenty of bees, so we know that it's good now. This is exactly what I wanted in a new face in Hogwarts Legacy. Let's fix that though. It's so important to fix the eye, at least to me. Um, it's not very professional to leave big gaps around the eyes. Okay, so I think I really would like to see the eyebrows looking silly too. And then it's a little rigid here. Turn your texture off occasionally to see if there's something that you're not able to spot, or change your lighting. See how lumpy that is? That's just silly. We take the texture off. Go back to material. We can see that a little better. And we can fix it and smooth it. By going through here, sculpt, smooth. Okay, next part. I mentioned that we want this to all line up. So once you finish that part of the edit, take your mask off by... I just go and paint it off myself. Just project it, zoom out, and sweep it. There we go, unmasked. Now we go to this area where the ear matches, and we've got a little bit of a step type thing going on. It doesn't matter if you move it just a little bit. So you can use the smooth tool, you can use any tool you want. Right now I'm just trying to hurry, so I'm going to use the smooth one again. And I'm just going to keep it set low and go over and sweep. Sweep it and then zoom out, or makes your brush kind of stay big, but you can also use the brackets key to change the size of your brush on the fly. Just like in Photoshop. And the bigger you use it, the more area it smooths it over, so it really, really, really... Okay, I promise I'm done. One more. Hold on. So here's our beautiful custom head model. And we want to show the eyelashes and the eye model from the original thing. So we'll unhide them by hitting the Alt-H button. Let's go back to edit mode for that then. So try again, Alt-H. Alt-H unhides everything that's been hidden previously. So here we are with our eyelashes and our eyes and everything else that was previously included. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to delete the custom head section. Everything is still here after all. Trying to think, would it be easier though, because selecting the eyelashes themselves isn't usually the easiest. But yeah, these aren't lined up anymore, so we need to line them up. It looks like the top lash line might be okay. They don't necessarily touch a lot, but they're pretty dense, and it's kind of hard just to select them since there's so many little bits. So everything is done here. Let's delete this. There we go. All done. Okay, you know what? Let's select it by material. So go over here, material properties. We can click through the different materials and it'll be super easy to do this because we can just click the eyelash and then hit select. And it selects the material and now we can edit that. If you use like the sculpt tools on this, the eyelashes oftentimes I've noticed will just kind of look a little deformed, so it's best to just kind of do them separately. But if you do need to edit them a little further, you can just go in at the base here and then edit them, like nudge them around. But the easiest way to do it is to go into the transform here. In the transform tool, you kind of want to be a little careful with it. If you're not used to it, you can also just use the scale tool, but I like transform because you can move. Oh no, that was an unexpected type of move. Okay, sorry. So you can move things in it, rotate things in it. I must have accidentally mirrored that. And then adjust their scale. The scale is what we're looking at right now. To go like side to side, it's actually going to change the size of it and not just the location. But sometimes the scale is nice when you've changed your eyes because it does seem to disfigure and kind of warp the shape of it. If you go this way and you want longer lashes, by the way, it does work. It's just they won't really line up in the end properly. You can try things like the shear, which is a little funky, I will admit, sometimes. It's a little tool that pops up like this, and it lets you edit it side to side, and it's like this little thing. Imagine if we have a perfectly straight box and we click shear on it. It'll do that. This can kind of be useful sometimes, but as you can see, it's probably best to just do it on one side at a time. And then again, I have this whole thing here messed up. What have I done? I don't really care to fix that right now. I just want to finish this so that we can move on because we're 48 minutes in and yeah, I'm not really keen on wasting your time. So back into our scale tool only is what I'm just going to use. I'm going to make it a little smaller. So as a whole, if you want to do the scale, you go into the scale tool because you can just do everything at once. And I know that I moved my eyelashes out as well as in, so scale is nice. Pop in to move, go up a little because we raised it up. Get really in there and check because it will look a little funky if it's not properly like lined with the bottom of the eyelid. If you're not as worried about detail as I am, then just don't worry about that part then. But yeah. So I like how these tops are, but I don't like how the bottoms are. I want to deselect just this part. So I'm going to use the circle tool to make that easier on me. And just hit the button C. And then you've pulled up a tool that lets you paint to select. Pressing the left click button is going to select. Pressing the right click button you would think would deselect. It does not. So you'll have to click it again. But if you push down on your scroll wheel on your mouse, that's how you deselect. So yeah, be careful not to accidentally right click like I just did. But turn on X-ray mode before, I should have done that before. Turn on X-ray mode so that you can select everything all at once. Sort of angle yourself so that you can avoid the bottom lash line here. Go into the circle, and just like with the brush, you can change the brush side without having to go over there, but you can't use the brackets. You just scroll with the scroll wheel. So scrolling with the scroll wheel makes it bigger, and also if you press the scroll wheel, it deselects. Be careful that you're not accidentally leaving just one vertice on the lower lash line, like deselected, because everything will look a little bit wonky as you go. There we go. And you can't really rotate very well in that tool. So we rotate again, hit C on our keyboard, that's all, and then just click on your scroll wheel on your mouse and deselect all the top lash line. Okay, all good. Right click to end. Scroll out, and up at the top, toggle X-ray. Undo that. Also says you can use Alt-Z, but for some reason my keyboard doesn't usually work when I do it, so I haven't been doing it. Alright, now we'll pull them out, lift them up a little, and they have a weird little bit of a... I'd like to rotate these just slightly, but it's probably easier if we didn't select one and enter the other. You can use your scale on just one portion here with the blue line, and it'll shape them like as a more flat type of a bit, and you can line them up. This does not need to go directly onto the inside. In fact, it's probably best to turn your texture back on for this because of that. I'm also seeing a gap over there that I didn't notice first, but I'm not too worried right now. Because you can kind of see better where the water line is. So like, I've kind of clipped it into the eyeball a little bit, which I would have wanted to fix normally, but right now this is just a test, so. Yeah, we want this to line up properly on the water line. So it's actually better that it doesn't fully adhere to this lash. Just bring it up and push it in a little bit, right where that water line would be. And then it'll load in just fine. It's like putting on falsies. There you go. No, I should be done with her design entirely, so we're going to switch to object mode. And our absolutely beautiful, lovely lady face is now ready to export. So in the beginning, I hid the armature. Let's unhide it. Alt 8 should unhide it. Nope. There is a button for that. It's not really important. What is important is that we export this and all we have is our one model and we've deleted all the others for the extra eyes and everything. So usually if I'm doing like work with a lot of models, I would click this and I would click the skeleton to export, but you don't have to, so long as you've only got one model on the screen. So to save it, we're going to go to File, Export, and FBX. So I've got the export folder here. I'm going to want to save it over my custom head, or you can retitle it to save it however you want. But I'm going to save it here. The next part is probably one of the most important things. You want to make sure that it's set properly. So go over here, this little arrow for armature. This is super important. Make sure you unselect add leaf bones. It will make you spend half an hour recompiling and reconfiguring every animation in the game. Probably more than half an hour if you don't have a nice PC. And you'll be stuck anytime you try to click the head if you add leaf bones, because it makes it add those bones to the skeleton and they're not supposed to be there. So don't do that. Make sure you deselect add leaf bones and then just click export and it should be there. And we can go back to the custom creator kit. Creator kit is open. Okay, so we've got custom head here and it's obviously still the old one and we want to change it. So like we've done in the past, we're going to right click, re-import with new file. Okay, re-import window is up. We just click custom head here, click open, and it's importing. Usually is really good about lining these up exactly where they're supposed to be, so just click done. It said failed to merge bones. I may have deleted that skeleton instead of saving it with it, which a lot of people seem to message about as well. So if that's the case, I can show you guys how to fix that too on the fly. No problem. Yeah, it looks like I may have done that. But it still shows it here. Huh. Let's see what it's doing in the background. She's crashed! Give me just a second to pause and like get it set back up. It seems like it's probably a creator kit issue then. Okay, so in the early on steps, when I accidentally hid that skeleton, I think I might have deleted it or something like that, so... Alright, let's fix it. We're gonna import another head model. Not that one, but let's find a different one that I've got saved. Okay, so I've got my heads folder here. Let's pick a random girl. Female head, and I guess I'll take Violet. Not seeing Violet skeleton either. She do have a big forehead. Ah. Okay, I'm stupid apparently. My problem was that I wasn't in layout and I... That's funny. Okay, let's just undo to the point where we didn't have her in there. And see what's wrong with it. It's probably just that I wasn't there when I exported this. Yeah, everything's fine now. Okay, highlight everything, bone and face. We've got the head pulled up here, and then we're going to go into File, Export, FBX again. Going to save it on top of this, and then go over here into Armature, make sure that Leaf Bones is turned off. Now that I've got it selected, the way I generally like to export things is by clicking Object Types, Armature, Mesh, Other. Just click Shift and select that, Armature, Mesh, Other, and then Selected Objects Limited to. And then make sure you add Leaf Bones is turned off, and then export it. I've got it saved as an operator preset as well. Default to all with no leaf bones, or default to selected, and that includes the no leaf bones, so I set it up. So you can always do that to make sure you never forget it, but you do have to remember to manually select it every time. But I've selected it, name export. There we go. And now we've got this pulled back up. I still don't know why it did a crash, but it's been weird lately, so I'll be running it later to fix that with the validate files through Epic Game Launcher. If that confuses you, just disregard it. I'm sorry. And it's just called custom head. Custom head. We're in custom head. We right click, re-import with new file, custom head FBX open. There we go. There we go. Everything's fine this time. So yeah, layout mode. Oh. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna need to fix my creator kit. Unfortunately. Which is easy, so it crashes on me a lot. It's been doing that today. And I'm pretty sure it might be because I've changed something in the background, so I'm just gonna go. If this stuff ever happens to you and you feel like you need to reset it, um, it'll pull up the Epic window here. You click it and then go to Manage, click Verify Files, and it goes through everything, and it kind of resets your background stuff. And like if you've accidentally made changes to like some of the default game files and stuff, it'll reset them. So basically though, we went through the whole tutorial. I am so sorry that my creator kit wasn't loading for it in the background, but yeah, no, the next steps are to follow my other tutorial where I did include the addition of a custom head. This one's just telling you how to export the head, edit the head, and then re-import the head. And we did cover re-importing the head in my previous video. So you can go and look into that. I'll look into what was wrong with my creator kit. And we've been on this for an hour now, so I'm just going to go ahead and go. And yeah, if you've got any questions on that, or if any part of that confused you and you need me to redo something, let me know. I can do that. But yeah, no, this generally export the edit, use the tools, like, this is just a general Blender how-to for the most part. So if you watch the whole thing, then good on you. And if not, thanks for checking it out wherever you can like and subscribe, and you'll see more content that I put out. I do plan on adding quite a bit more. You can also send me a message with what you'd like to see going forward. People have been doing that, and I do have a list of things I'm going to put up. For example, here's my basics list here of what everything is. We've gone over the NPC replacement. I want to go over just showing how to preview your animations for clipping at one point. Exporting a face, mesh, and editing in Blender. We just covered that. And then we've got all these things here that I can cover. So let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, and I'll try to get that out as soon as possible. And yeah, thanks for watching.